Hello and welcome to We Random episode 17. Hey, if you haven't heard, the House passed a bill decriminalizing marijuana, which is perfect timing because I got potato chips and beef jerky and cookies and candy. I'm ready for the. I mean, I don't do. Okay, we'll be right back.
Almost Qualified Productions. Your dose of semi-coherent babbling.
Welcome to We Random, episode 17. I'm Brian. That's Christopher. Say hello to the people, Christopher.
Hello, people.
Was that intro actually something that happened? Did I miss that story?
Apparently, it did actually happen.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
well,
just today.
Okay, now both NBA players and the layperson are benefiting from, different things with marijuana because I mean, this might be the first time ever that the intro music's not even gone and I'm making something
Oh, wait, I'm not ready for it.
Zeke Elliott, feed me of the weed. Because the next thing that's coming is every state is going to bid that dispensary and they're going to eat that money. They're going to say, come get it, but we getting our cut. You want this? 30%. You want this? 50%. You want this? 70%. We got to get it.
You know what? It makes sense. And this is an important thing for people to be aware of. And I saw a lot of comments on this on Facebook where people weren't understanding the way that it works. So there are both state laws and what's legal in the state and what's legal federally, right? So like right now, and this is a couple years old and I haven't read up on it a ton, but California passed the legalization of weed years and years ago, but it was still illegal federally. So what you would have is distilleries opening up and they can sell their stuff, but the DEA might come in and shut them down or something because federally it was illegal. It's just the dumbest bullshit ever. So what this could or will do, and I haven't read up on it a ton because I've been working today and it just happened today, but what this kind of opens the door for is now there's, states like Illinois, which is very, very close to us here, where they legalized it in the state. Now they don't have any hurdles or anything they have to mess around with federally. And of course, it opens up the door for those states that haven't, either decriminalized it or legalized it, whatever the case may be, to possibly do that. So big story, interesting thing.
It is. That's definitely a big story. It's not on our random Wheel of Doom today, but again, this is why we're random. We start out with a topic, we kind of talk about it, and then we move on from there. So, loyal listener, today we have some different topics for you. We'll be able to go through as many as we can in about 45 minutes, and then we have a wonderful, tasty, delicious random
Yes, we do.
This evening. So, Christopher, do you have any thoughts, words, or things for the people before we spin this wheel?
Nope, I'm spinning.
All right, spin it.
I noticed that it's not spinning on the video again. I don't know why that's doing that, but the first topic to come up is Hayden Hurst. Who is Hayden Hurst, and why do we want to talk about this person?
All right. Well, this is kind of a heavy topic, but Hayden Hurst is a tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. As I was scrolling Twitter last night, Hayden Hurst was trending. So I wanted to see why Hayden Hurst was trending. And the Atlanta Falcons put out a two-part video documenting his story. So Hayden Hurst is an individual who has had mental health and AODA struggles. So he talked about in the part one of this video how when he was young, he was kind of a two-sport athlete. He played baseball and he played football. And as he got a little bit older into like that high school, early college age, things started going a little bit south with baseball. And that's when he started feeling depressed and he was going through depression and he started having some, substance use issues. One of the things that he said, and I wanted to quote this because I thought that this was really powerful. He said, "I can't really explain it. It's hard to unless you go through it. Depression, when you feel like nobody's there, when you're in that headspace and you're in that dark spot, you feel alone. You feel like nobody's there and nobody cares. For me, in those years, that's why I turned to drinking, pills, cocaine. anything I could get my hands on to numb that feeling of embarrassment where I wouldn't have to explain myself to my family as to why my life was unraveling. So while in college, Hurst made an attempt on his own life, and he says about that, at that point, I wanted out. I had fought for so long, and I wanted it to be over. So he survived. And from that point, he said that he stopped drinking, committed himself to football, and he got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. He actually was drafted ahead of their current tight end, Mark Andrews. That was a whole class. So they were like super excited about both of them. And in that time, he also started a foundation with his mother to address the stigma of mental health. About the second chance that he was given to live, Hurst says his encouragement to people is to keep fighting, keep going. As bad, as dark as it gets, I promise you that there is someone out there who cares, loves you, and wants to see you succeed at whatever you do. There is somebody in your life who loves you, will support you, and will help you get out of that situation. Now, the reason that I put this on our topic list and I wanted to talk about it is because this kind of pulls together a lot of the things that we have been talking about. So, for example, we've talked about like Dak Prescott and how he came out and he was vocal about his story and his
Right.
experience with depression. We've talked about other individuals. And I think something like this with Hayden Hurst, what really resonated with me is the powerful yet painful way that he described what he was feeling. And I think that's something that's so important because when you read those quotes and you hear him say those things, individuals who are experiencing similar feelings to those or who have experienced those feelings or know someone who has experienced those feelings, you can put yourself in that position in a different way than if you don't hear someone say it.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about mental health type stuff, and you and I are both advocates of it. I suffer from a lot of different mental health type things, anxiety and depression and all of that. And you being a very close friend of mine is somebody who's kind of lived through some of that with me as well. And I'm sure you've got your own things you work with, but it's important that these examples are brought up, right? Because I think a lot of people still see mental health as a negative, right? Which is not a great thing, right? It's not saying, "Woo, I'm depressed," but people look down on other people because of it, and it's something that I think the more that we hear, the more that we talk about it, the more that we make it common to talk about it, I think the better it is. I think the more normalized that it is, which is important. I think when you have somebody like Hayden Hurst, somebody who he's not a huge name in the NFL, but he is a starting NFL player, so he's got some weight behind his message, which is important. I also think because he's a football player, right? The NFL is full of big macho guys who have to be super strong, and you can't deal with, being depressed. I think that's super, super important, and I think we need to hear those voices. So I think that's amazing. And it's also sometimes these things kind of can float under the radar, right? So I'm very open about some of my struggles and things that I deal with, and every now and then sometimes that comes up. And it's funny that this topic came up because I actually had a situation on Facebook today where I made a comment last night. I was watching The Grinch. Yes, I'm a grown fucking man, and I watched The Grinch, okay? Fucking deal with it. So I'm watching The Grinch, and I'm like, this dude is a fucking dick. Like, someone needs to punch him in the face. He's a fucking dick. And a buddy of mine responded and said, if you walked around life and always had someone talking negatively about you, you'd be grumpy too. The narrator is the bad guy. And my response to him was, and keep in mind, this is one of my closest friends, and my response to him was, that's the depression I live with every day. Welcome to my life. Or something similar to that, right? And then sometimes I think that those types of conversations, even though it was just kind of a joke and, on the sly, haha, yeah, this is something to deal with, but it's something that I try to bring to the world as much as I can, because a lot of times people looking at me won't know that that's there, won't know that that's something that very often I have to deal with and I have to overcome. And I don't put that out there because I want sympathy or I want pity or I want people to bend over backwards and give me stuff. That's not at all what it is. But sometimes it's important to remind people that these are the struggles that you're dealing with and help normalize it in those normal conversations as well. So I guess what I'm saying is it's great that we have those really big messages like this, but it's important that we have some of those smaller conversations as well with people that we care about and people in our lives.
Definitely. And I think it's so important, like you said, I think the conversation piece is the most important because we want to normalize having these conversations and normalize people being able to open up. Because again, like Hayden Hurst says, and kind of some of the things that you've said, like when you're in that moment and you're in that space, like how you're feeling and how you're thinking, like you may not want to be reaching out and maybe you don't, but
Yeah.
in in a moment where you're not in that space, if you have that opportunity, like it's a balancing act, I think, and that's the important part. And from a mental health advocate perspective, one of the things that we always kind of say is that our goal is to help make sure that an individual's resources are equal to or greater than what it is that is their pain, right? Because oftentimes when individuals make an attempt on their life or commit suicide, it's because their pain has outkicked the coverage of their resources, basically,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of cut you off, but there's an important message here too, and I've seen this going both ways, and both these messages really come from the gaming sphere, right? Streamers on Twitch and people that I follow on Twitter and that type of thing, and this is a difficult area when it comes to helping people, right? Because there's one very, very, very popular streamer, one of the most popular streamers out there, who a lot of people will come to him and they will say sometimes very direct things. Maybe they're legitimate, maybe they're not. I'm going to kill myself if you don't read my comment, or whatever the case may be. Or, hey, I'm in a really bad spot, I need your help. And his response very cleanly every single time is, I'm not a professional, I can't help you with that. You need to go talk to somebody. Which in a way is 100% correct, right? He's not a counselor. It's also not his responsibility or his job. But there was another streamer, and she had a very important point, which I think is very important, is that sometimes all someone needs is just someone to talk to, someone to care, someone to know that they're there for them, right? I know that for me, in some of my darkest days, if somebody reaches out to me, I mean, first of all, I'm not going to reach out to you. Not going to happen. Like, if I'm not going to reach out and say, hey, Brian, I'm really struggling today, man, I need to talk. That's just not how I am. Now, if we were to end up in a situation where all of a sudden I kind of feel comfortable, I might start to talk. And I think it's very, very important in those situations that you're willing to listen without judgment. You don't need to have answers. You don't need to have any answers, but just be there to listen and be there to help redirect as needed, and make sure, as Brian was saying, that the people in your lives have the resources that they need. Hey, have you talked to somebody? Do you just need to talk to me? What are we trying to accomplish? You know, be there for the people as best as you can. And if it gets to a point where you need to help redirect them towards professional resources, then absolutely do that. But I think that a lot of people will take a very, very hands-off approach just because they're afraid of the seriousness of that topic. But I would say, and this is very, very personal to me, is be open in those situations. In fact, the person who made the Grinch comment is one of those people who, for whatever reason, when I had my really, really downtime a couple of years back, he was the person that just I seemed to open up to. We would get together for a cigar somewhere, and I would just start talking. And he is fantastic about just, let me listen. Let me hear what you have to say. Let me give you a little bit of advice and things that might help you on your way. Absolutely perfect. So I rambled a lot, but really the message is be there for people. Be there for the people in your life and try to help out as you can.
yep. And we're not a counseling podcast, right? But I live counseling, love counseling. Like I went to school for counseling. And one of the things, if I can tell you anything, is that a lot of people will always say, well, I'm afraid to ask someone if they're going to kill themselves. I'm afraid to ask someone if they're feeling depressed. I'm afraid to ask them because if they're not, I'm going to put that idea in their head. Research shows if individuals are thinking of killing themselves, if individuals are depressed, those ideas are already in their head. So by you asking the direct question in a way that has genuine empathy and genuine care for that person, that is better than not asking at all, because by the fact that you've asked, you are validating their experience.
Yeah, I can only speak from my own personal situation. I don't see how anybody could, just asking that question would push me into that realm. full disclosure, I've been there. I've been there multiple times where I was on that edge. And if somebody had asked me at that moment, hey, is this a situation you're in? Are you a risk to yourself right now? That's not going to push me over that edge. Or if I'm not at that position, that's not going to make me say, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I should totally kill myself. Like, that's not going to happen. That's very personal to me. Some other people may react differently to that, but I find it hard to believe that would push somebody to that if that's not something that's currently on their mind. And I think that's a very, very sensitive question to ask, and I think you have to really know the person and be very close to them to ask that type of question. But again, it's really about understanding who you're speaking with, knowing who they are, and doing your best to just be there as a person. Don't be there as a professional unless you are a professional, but just be there as a friend and as a confidant. And just a shout out to Wiggum in the chat, who had a really nice message out there about reaching out. And I would even say the same. If you just need someone to chat with, hit me up too.
Yeah, any of us. So.
Should we try to get something maybe a little less heavy?
Yes,
All
although
right.
we're probably going to get our favorite bad person.
We're not. We're going to get our next favorite bad person, the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, this isn't any better. Okay, so this topic is thoughts on the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers have had an interesting week as the MLB offseason has moved into the contact tendering period for arbitration eligible players. The Brewers had 10 individuals who they needed to tender or non-tender, and they tendered contracts to Brandon Woodruff, Josh Hader. They also signed deals with Orlando Arcia, Daniel Vogelbach, Manny Pena, and Omar Narvaez. Meanwhile, they non-tendered Ben Gamel, Alex Claudio, and Jace Peterson, and they also traded Corey Knebel to the Dodgers for a player to be named later or cash.
Cash.
Now, Knebel was anticipated to earn about $5 million in arbitration, so a lot of people are saying that he was moved to cut salary. The Brewers have also gone discount diving in free agency, signing catcher Luke Maile, who is well regarded for his defense but has a career batting average of 198 with 10 home runs and 60 RBIs in 215 games. Other thoughts on the Brewers, Tom Haudricourt wrote an arbitration deadline preview article stating that it sounds like the Brewers are planning to have a bare bones budget in that Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, and Avi Garcia might make up 50% of the total payroll. Those three will make about $42 million. So that means that the payroll is probably going to come in between $80 and $85 million this year. On the flip side of this, when asked about the team's moves, GM David Stern said, "We are in this to win the World Series. We think the best way to do that is building a team that can compete every year possible and take as many bites out of the apple as we can." Now, Christopher, I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Do you believe that a team that features Lorenzo Cain, Christian Yelich, Avi Garcia, Josh Hader, Brandon Woodruff, and then a list of names such as Freddie Peralta,
They fucking
Bobby
suck.
Wall, Eric Lauer. Wait, no, hold on. Okay, so no, wait. Okay, let's try this again. Ray Black.
Oh, are we doing individual? Because I'll just keep spamming that button, man.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're doing the individual. Ray Black.
They fucking suck.
Eric Yardley.
They fucking suck.
Let's see here.
They fucking suck. I mean, like I'm just gonna cut you off because like they're not gonna sign anybody that's really worth a damn, right? So I think there's a couple things here though. I'm not gonna take a complete pessimist asshole side like I normally do. I'm still gonna be a big chunk of that. I might even sidestep Omar Narvaez or whatever the fuck his name is, but Jesus fucking Christ, I'll have to hit the button like 7 times. They fucking suck. Like, get out of here with that dude. Now, I heard, and I haven't looked this up, but it sounds like his defensive numbers improved. Great. Big fucking deal. And people are like, oh, he's a comeback player. You know, the dude hit, what, 198 or some shit? He was so horrible. It was disgusting. Well, that was the Luke Mullane guy or whatever who hit 198, but I think this guy was pretty close. He was complete garbage. I don't hate Manny Pena. I think he's a really good second option. It'd be nice if we had a first option. Just saying. I don't see them doing anything worth a damn. I think Stearns has the right approach to it, and I think that he had a really good soundbite that we're going to take as many bites out of the apple as we can. I 100% agree. I think that's the right approach. You want to try to hit, be a contender for as long as you can, as opposed to just putting all your eggs in one basket and taking one shot at it. So I get that. That makes sense. But the problem is you're taking a team that was very good. It had a higher payroll that didn't win it all, and you're chopping it in like half, or you're taking a quarter of it off or something, and now you're expecting to still contend. And I just don't see that. I think that they are. I think that our run of being a legitimate contender is over, and I think they'll be okay. I think that they maybe be able to try to hit the playoffs, maybe. But with some of the players that they're talking about and the players that we're going to have, I just don't see us being successful. And in the end, he hit 176, even worse, for God's sake. I just don't see there being a whole lot of success here. And really, what he's trying to do, I understand it. It's a payroll thing, right? You only have so much money. We're a small market team and all of that. I get it. And so what he's trying to do is he's taking my fantasy football approach, which is you throw a whole bunch of chances out there, and if you hit on one or two of them, you have a chance to win the whole damn thing. That's what he's trying to do. And it sucks that we're in a gambling position, but that's the sport that we're in. And at least, if nothing else, having some of the guys that we do have, you can't argue with Yelich and Kane and Garcia even was legit. Woodruff and Hader. Williams was really, really good last year. So we've got a base of really good players. I just don't know if we're going to be able to get enough to fill in around them to make it a really legitimate shot to, win the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say, is that they're very top heavy. Maybe they've got, of a 25-man roster, and maybe they're going to do the 26 to 28 again, who knows. But of the 25-man roster, they probably have, 8 to 10 players that you can say, yes, like I'm confident in this player. Like I'm confident in Kane, Yelich, Garcia, Hader, Woodruff, confident-ish in Corbin Burns, hopefully confident in Devin Williams, hopefully, Keston rebounds. But there were a lot of folks last year who also performed under expectations. And I think that was part of the problem, is that they, the bites at the apple approach is like you sign all of these Justin Smokes and Dan Vogelbachs, and you go, well, we're going to give it a go. And then if they're great, they're great. And if they're not, they're Eric Sogard. And then they vote 3 times. But,
But again, I think that's what they have to do, unfortunately. And, you brought up a couple names that I didn't mention, Keston Hiura and Corbin Burns, who I love, and he was great last year until he got hurt. These are legitimate players. And I think that last year you have to throw everything out, right? Even for fucking Navarez, or whatever his name is. Even for him, I think you have to throw it out. But you have to throw out the year before for him, too. So we don't know what the hell he is. Because last year is just a complete anomaly. Like, everybody struggled. And I know you could talk to Javi Baez, and he'll tell you it's because he didn't have the video in the dugout. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's an overrated piece of shit. I said it here first. But you got to throw that all out, and I think we've got am I high? No, I am not high. We've got a lot of really strong pieces to kind of build off of. It's just, what are we going to be able to piece together with the rest of it? And it's really, they're just rolling the bones, right, and seeing what they can come up with, and hoping that they don't crap out like they did last year.
Yeah, I think that's really what it's going to be. Like, I don't see this team being able to compete for a division title unless there is something significant that they get from a young player that we're not expecting, like they got from Devin Williams this past year.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
All right, well, more to come on that, provided that COVID doesn't cancel another season.
Right. All right, I'm spinning.
I'm still mourning the loss of the Milwaukee Wave season, especially considering that now they're loaning their players out to other soccer teams. In my heart, it's just broken and it hurts so much.
That sucks. All right, well, we got something that came up on the wheel here, B.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have to explain why bad person is on the wheel.
Okay. So,
And we might have to
as
pick
you,
we might have to pick and choose how many things we talk about here, because you know we might piss off a lot of people and make people go to sleep, which is kind of what we do anyway. But go ahead.
that's fine. So, I decided that instead of splitting these up into like 4 or 5 topics, we were just going to have a Donald Trump topic because there are a couple
They
things
fucking
that have.
suck.
So there are a couple things that Donald Trump has done recently that I felt like we wanted to talk about. So first, Donald Trump threatened to veto a nearly $1 trillion bill that funds the military and Pentagon unless Congress were to repeal the legal protections for Section 230. We talked about Section 230 last week, which is basically internet protections that if an individual says something on a website, they are liable for what they say and not the content provider. Um, People, are saying that that is a dramatic escalation in Trump's fight with big tech, and that also has major national security um, implications. So, in terms of that, the Congress has kind of looked at what Trump said and said, no, we're still going to put this bill forward. And then if you're going to do it, you're going to do it, basically. So they said, nope, we're not going to repeal anything with 230, and you're either going to sign this bill or you're not. The Senate Armed Services Chair, who is a Republican from Oklahoma, said that while he agrees with Trump about Section 230, the provision has nothing to do with the military. Um, there are other folks who agree with that. So this is going to be continued, but I feel like this is kind of a strange omen, right? Like you're trying to wield your power, and like this is something that always happens in politics. So again, this isn't just a Trump thing. But again, another thing that we wanted to talk about is for the attacks on the 2020 election. Trump filed a lawsuit to the Wisconsin Supreme Court seeking to disqualify more than 220,000 ballots in the state's 2 biggest Democratic counties, alleging irregularities in the way absentee ballots were administered. His lawsuit echoed claims that were rejected by election officials in this state and several other states. Um, a divided Wisconsin Supreme Court refused to hear his lawsuit, attempting to overturn the loss, saying that he needs to go through the lower courts instead. The reason that he went to the highest court in the first place is he was saying this is a time sensitive issue that needs to be done before the state certifies its votes. So, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to
Yeah.
read what the swing justice guy said?
No, to hell with what he says. So first of all, Emily, you are absolutely correct. And just to clarify, so everybody knows why this is called Bad Person. We did a podcast, I don't know, 5-6 podcasts ago or so, where I went on one of my rants, and I referred to Mr. President Donald Trump as a word that I probably didn't really want to say. So I edited it out and put bad person over the top of it. So that's why this is called Bad Person. And
we had to use like 4 bad persons. It wasn't just one.
That's true.
It was like bad person.
I busted it out a lot because he's a fucking asshole. But anyway, so I think there's 2 different things we're looking at. So first of all, the trying to sneak Section 230 into the military budget thing is fucking asinine, right? Like all he's trying to do is he's trying to ram his agenda and his thoughts and what he wants done into absolutely everything. Like Section 230 has nothing to do with military spending, nothing at all. They're not even remotely related in any way, shape, or form. But what he's trying to do is wield his veto stick to try to push through whatever he wants. He's a fucking bully. He's always been a bully. That's all. That's that's what he's going to be trying to do for the next month. Is he's just going to try to push through as much bullshit as he can. And I hope that people stand up to him the way that they have so far, right? It's just this shit has nothing to do with it. We're not dealing with it. That's number one. Number two, this fucking motherfucker trying to steal this election. And I know there's people in the chat who supported him, and that's fine. Do your thing. I have personal issues with you because of that, but like this guy is clearly trying to steal the fucking election. Like how can anybody in their right mind, like if you voted for him, fine and great. I have issues with that, but this is something completely different. Like if you support him at this point when he is very clearly trying to steal an election, how the hell do you call yourself an American? That's the issue I have. Like this dude is trying to undermine our very fucking democracy by trying to steal this election. It is fucking disgusting. And I know I'm being super adamant at this point, but this is just this pushes me way over the fucking edge. I think it's great that these lower courts, that these courts are standing up to him. I don't know what his number of wins versus losses is right now, but last I saw he was like 1 for 39, I think, and the one win was I think in Pennsylvania where they could stand like 3 feet closer or some bullshit like that doesn't even fucking matter, right? Like they just keep getting slammed left and right because what they're doing is fucking bullshit. There's no basis in law for any of this. And how the fuck Rudy Giuliani is still a lawyer fucking baffles me. On top of all this, which wasn't even in your list, is this fucking guy is selling off pardons like they're fucking Big Macs. It's blowing my fucking mind, and people are okay with this. He's like preemptively pardoning himself and his fucking kids. Are you fucking serious? Like, how is that even possible? Like, this fucker got into office just to fucking pull all this bullshit and to make a bunch of money for himself and to try to change the laws in a way that's going to benefit him. And then at the end of it, they're like, we're just going to pardon everybody. Nobody cares. Are you fucking... If we let this shit fly, my head's going to fucking explode.
Well, and my whole thing with this is really a, like, I think about this, like, remember the Tony La Russa story where he looked at the cop and said, "You know who I am? I got this right."
Right.
That's basically what he's doing. He's going to these courts and saying, "Do you know who I am? You need to let me talk to you about this." And that's why I was glad that the guy on the Wisconsin court was like, "Look, like, we need to abide by the time-tested judicial norms, like, especially in these high-profile cases. We just can't let you skip in this line and be like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, you need to follow the protocol. You can't just like make shit up." Like, he's basically doing the whole like blah blah, like it's magic. I'm gonna pull a little dime out from behind your ear, and then it's great, so great, right?
Well,
like,
and that's one of the really good things that's happening right now is, I get it. If what he's trying to do in any specific, like not listing a specific scenario, but if he's trying to do something that he should be able to do, that's legally okay, that falls in line with the powers of the president, then fine, do your thing, right? I'm probably going to disagree with whatever the fuck he's trying to do, but if it's within the laws of that, then that's fine. But the fact that he's trying to do these things that are way outside of the bounds of that, first of all, and second of all, that people are actually finally starting to stand up to him, right? Because I think all these fuckers who have just fallen in line and just given him everything that he wanted and just bent over backwards to appease this fucking guy, I think they're starting to maybe see some of the writing on the wall and realize that, he's going away, whether you like it or not, he's starting to go away. And so some of these people are starting to very, very slowly in very, very small numbers, but some of them are slowly starting to kind of stand up. And so hopefully, that will help, limit how much damage he can do on his way out.
Well, and it's not even that, but people are finally seeing that. So, for example, like in Georgia, like all those folks that were supporting him, and then like he threw them under the bus when Georgia went to Biden. And he's like blaming them for the fact that voters in Georgia voted him out. And it's like, well, like it's not their fault. Like they were on your bandwagon too. It's just such a selfish and such a like blatant misuse of power. Like the abuse of power is what is so vulgar to me, and that's why I wanted to bring that up, to just be able to go like, it's like when somebody walks into the store and says, "I'm going to talk to your general manager because you won't give me this coupon for 99 cents." And it's like, you just need to go through the proper channels here.
Right.
If I don't know. I don't know that there's any more that we can say about this, because I don't know if we want to get you any more fired up, because otherwise you're going to start looking like Bruce Arians over here. Your face is just going to get all red and like,
yeah,
you're
pretty
gonna
much.
So I think it's time to spin the wheel. Any other stuff you want to talk about with this one though?
Nope, it's spinning, even though you can't see it on the video. Oh, this is a tangent to the one we just had, kind of ish. Now we know his name. What is that all about? I asked that. I'm the one who submitted this story, but what is this all about, B?
It's true. So there was a journalist, Laura Jadid. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, so we're going to go with Jadid. But she went to cover the Million MAGA March a few weeks ago. In her coverage, she came across a group of individuals chasing off a protester. They stopped to film that event, as they've done at several similar locations. The journalist heard her name being called out, and a protester from her hometown apparently recognized her as someone whose coverage of the far right has often been less than flattering. What happened after that were her and her colleague being surrounded by these men for about 15 minutes. They were pushing them and jostling them and yelling at them and saying lots of vulgar and terrible things to them. But she was recording the entire time, and once the video was posted, the internet did what the internet does, and they doxed a bunch of these guys, including the primary antagonist, who is been called JD. This individual was fired from his job. Then this journalist was sent the video of this individual's wife crying because her husband has been fired from the job, and she's been sent it multiple times, and like all of her friends are like, this is great, like, aren't you happy about this? But like the journalist kind of is talking about like, this still feels weird. Like, is this the justice that we want, or is this just going to make things worse, or what's happening here? And I think this is a very interesting thing, because we've seen this story dozens of times. Like, somebody commits an asshole act in public, it gets posted to social media, people on social media figure out who that person is, that person gets some type of repercussion, whether they get fired or shamed or whatever, and then everybody on the internet takes a victory lap because the person who has done something wrong is now brought to justice. But that justice comes with a price, because that person then has also brought pain and suffering to their friends, their family. And what do we really gain from this? I don't know. So you're the one that put this on here, and you said when you messaged this to me, you had some very strong thoughts. So I want to hear those thoughts before I go any further into this. Hit me.
Yeah. So I got to take a quick sidestep. Sean in the chat had two messages back to back, which were very funny. So the first one was, politicians are like diarrhea, which I think, comparing politicians to diarrhea is probably legit. But then his very next message was, by the way, sending you cookies. Because I put a call out on Facebook, said, hey, who's making, treats for the holidays? So I just thought it was funny the way those came together. And thank you for the cookies. Anyway, so, the reason why I said that I had really strong feelings on this, and I was laughing over Sean's comment. Did you cover the whole his wife was crying on TikTok or something? Did you mention that?
Yeah, I said that she got sent the video of the wife crying, and like she didn't know how to feel about it, and then she just had all of these existential questions like, is this the way?
Yeah. Let me tell you how I feel about it.
How do you feel, Christopher?
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. You can hate me, you can think I'm an asshole, that's fine. But here's the reason why. You cannot tell me that this woman didn't know that her husband was an asshole. She knew. She had to know. She was she at the thing? I think she might have even been at the rally. Like, she knew that this guy is the way that he was, right?
Yeah,
I can't feel bad about that, right? Because, like, it's one thing if you just do something stupid and wrong in a small way. It impacts one or two people. I think that's kind of a different story. But this is somebody who clearly is actively trying to push an agenda of hate, an agenda of misogyny, an agenda of racism, an agenda of sexism, and all these things that this person is really trying to push. He's trying to instill fear and hate in people. I don't know if you watched the video, Brian, but I spent 20 minutes watching the video of this woman in this crowd. And not only this guy, but there's a bunch of guys. It's probably not a big surprise. They were almost all guys, were literally this close to her face. Like, they were in her face. They're bumping into her and pushing into her, clearly trying to intimidate her. Right? Not to mention the fact that most of them weren't wearing masks and we're in the middle of COVID, right? That's probably beside the point. It's all about intimidation, and they are trying to, push people down and take people's rights and to just dehumanize people. And I'm sorry, but if you have those kind of views and those kind of thoughts, and on top of that, you are actively pushing these through. Now, let's keep in mind, this is a guy who lived in the Pacific Northwest. He was in Washington, D.C. for this rally. So this isn't like, I was just going to the store for milk and cookies and happened to see a couple of people standing around. So I got out my big black, Tonka truck and stood in the group and said, "Oh, hey, this is kind of cool." Like, this is someone who specifically went across the country to march in this rally and to attack people verbally. It's just, I am so disgusted by this. Now, does that mean that he should lose his job, that all this stuff should happen? I don't know. Like, I mean, assholes need to, I guess, earn a living too. But, like, what is the... I feel that individuals like this are taking this stance and they're acting in this way because they feel they're above the law. They're above repercussions. They're above, being held to account for the stuff that they're doing and saying, while at the same time they are trying to just knock people down and cut the legs out of people who they see as less than them for one reason or another. You're gay, you're transsexual, you're a woman, you're black, all these different reasons that they decide that they are a better person and they're more deserving of everything than you are. Like, these people have to be held to account somehow, some way. And what he did most likely wasn't illegal in any way. So the asshole part of me says, you know what? He lost his job. Big deal. I don't really care. I mean, he's putting people's lives in danger. He's putting people, he's helping to perpetuate this ugliness that is the underbelly of our country. It has been forever, but it's starting to seep through even more right now. And I'm sorry, and this may make me an asshole, and I'm 100% okay with that. But the people that are doing that, I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you. I just don't have any.
Well, and I think so. My thought about this is I always go back to the whole conversation of freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequence, right?
Right.
So when you think about working for an employer, when you sign a contract for an employer, you are, for all intents and purposes, signing on to do X, Y, Z, and P for this company. You are signing on saying, I will represent your company in X, Y, Z, P way. If you do not represent said company in X, Y, Z, P way, you are then liable to be fired because you have breached the terms of that contract, right?
So on that note, everything that I say is 100% my own opinion. It does not reflect the views of my employer.
Well, but again, that, there's a different thing, right? Like, you can be saying what you say, but it's kind of one of those things where when you say that you're going to represent your employer and be kind to other people and whatever, but that's where this gets into a thing, right? Like, could our employers be like, well, we're going to fire you because you have this podcast? Technically, yes.
They
But
could.
again, that's where you as a person have to take that responsibility and say, is what I'm doing something that is worth me getting fired over, right? Because honestly, like, if an employer were to come and say, well, I don't want you to do this podcast and I'm going to fire you. Hi, Vince McMahon, we're on Twitch. It's it's one of those things where, like, you have to be okay with that as a consequence.
Yeah.
But for these people, if they're going out and they're, menacing people and bullying people, then they need to be able to be held liable for those consequences. And honestly, those people also need to then be held liable for explaining to the people in their life that they've made this decision that has changed everyone's lives, right? It's like that kid, and it's kind of how we started this conversation. This 16, 17, 18-year-old kid who decided that he wanted to go and, like, bulldoze a referee. Like, now he's got to explain to all of his friends in that high school why none of them get to play in the playoffs.
Oh, even more, he gets to explain that to all the colleges who are trying to recruit him.
Right. If any of the colleges still want to recruit him.
Yeah.
Or, all of this. Like, the thing about this is people, and especially in this internet age, they don't feel like there's consequences. And that was one of the things in the article too, is they said oftentimes when somebody gets doxxed, and doxing, for those of you who aren't like super internet hacker literate, that means that basically people on the internet figure out your identity. And they know exactly who you are and they know everything about you, also known as Amazon Sidewalk. But
Paching! Oh wait, I got a rim shot.
Do it.
There we go.
But then it's kind of like, oftentimes that makes people calm down because they know that there are repercussions for their actions. So they have that little birdie in their brain that says, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And I think, it's unfortunate that this dude got fired, sure, but he did something that he didn't need to be doing. There's no reason to be bullying these journalists, right? Like nothing says that you should be doing that. Like why is that okay? I guess that's one of the things, and I don't want to get too far off topic here because I know we've got other stuff that we want to do, but I often think about any of these stories and I go, whoever told you that that's okay to do?
Right.
Like that's honestly where I want to leave this is if you think about doing something, stop and say, is this something that is okay for me to do? Because a lot of people don't even think about that. Like whether it's bullying people in a crowd or trying to like slap a woman's ass who you don't know or anything like that. Like nobody ever told you that it's okay to fucking do that. So stop fucking doing it, you douche nozzle.
Oh wow,
And
bees
now
going off. So
and now
here's well,
my voice is now not connected to my employer. Thank you very much.
well here's the thing too is it's not like he was in some area where electronics weren't allowed and there was a loud band playing and he was sharing a very, you know, discreet conversation with one other person who was sitting elbow, you know, shoulder to shoulder with him, and he leaned over and whispered in his ear, right? This is somebody that he knew was a journalist. This is someone that he knew was a journalist who wrote articles and stuff about this movement and that he knew did not agree with it. This is a journalist that he knew that wrote stuff about this group that did not agree with, and she was holding a fucking camera in your face. Like, at that point, if you're too stupid to realize that this is going to get out on the internet and there could be repercussions, you're kind of an idiot. And one other thing that's worth mentioning is I think he did figure it out, because at one point, this is 20 minutes into this video, at one point he and I don't know exactly how the subject came up, but he basically said, hey, do you not feel safe? We can get you out of this crowd. And he basically said, oh, everybody split. And then he kind of let her out of the crowd. Like, okay, great. I mean, that's one redeeming thing that you did, but that was after you spent 15 or 20 minutes berating this woman, screaming in her face. Like,
well,
that doesn't make it okay.
Stuff like, what are you going to do? You're not going to do anything about
Right,
it.
right.
Like it was basically a premeditated, essentially, threat. Like whether it was premeditated by 10 minutes or 10 seconds. Like you looked at someone, you saw that they were vulnerable, and you took that opportunity. And if you took that opportunity, then you need to take the consequence.
And I think it's worth anybody, you know, we'll put, when I publish this out, I'll make sure that both on the YouTube video and on the podcast itself that we've got the links to all of this. I would recommend that everybody just watch the video. Just spend 20 minutes and watch the video and picture yourself in that crowd. And if you are somebody who, you know, picture yourself in that crowd not having the same beliefs as the people around you. And if you are the type of person where you're the big macho man, you can say, I don't care. Well, picture your wife is there. Picture your daughter is there. Picture your friend's wife is there. You know, picture someone who isn't you in that situation and tell me you'd be okay with that. Tell me the way that these individuals, mostly men, tell me the way that they behaved was okay. Tell me you would want them around. Because I'll tell you, if my niece or my sister was in that group, I won't say publicly what would have happened, but it wouldn't be fucking nice. I'll tell you that, because the way that they were acting was way the hell out of bounds. So that would be my ask. Just watch that and then just see the way that this is happening. Now, that's not to say that everybody who follows Trump, because this is a MAGA rally, right? It doesn't mean that everyone that follows Trump is these guys, right? Doesn't mean that none of them are either. But this particular group, the way that they were acting, I just... This isn't, first of all, this isn't an isolated incident, right? This is happening a lot. This is happening all over. And there's a lot of other groups beyond this one that are acting this way. But this is one good example where there's video proof that you can see exactly what's happening. And I recommend people take a look and maybe reevaluate the way that you feel about this. That's just my 2 cents.
Makes sense. So I would like to now throw my challenge flag here because I know we're starting to creep up on our time.
Yeah, I was going to say we're done spinning. So what's the challenge flag?
I'm going to throw my challenge flag. I want to talk about the Play Like a Girl. So
okay.
I want to talk about the Sarah Fuller story. So some of you may know, but Sarah Fuller became the first woman to play for a Power 5 conference football team last week as she suited up to be the place kicker for the Vanderbilt Commodores. The Power 5 conferences, which are the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac 12, and the SEC. So she is the first female to play a game in one of those 5 conferences. She was a member of the Vanderbilt women's soccer team and was tabbed to play for the Commodores because they have had some problems with this thing that's not actually a virus. It's like a cold. What's that thing called, Christopher?
Uh,
Like cove, the
the
Corvid, the Corbin,
Corvid, there you go. Oh, coronavirus, that's it. Yeah. I think they made it up. I think they took it out of a Dr. Seuss book or something.
Yeah. So Vanderbilt's place kicker was out because of COVID, and they asked Sarah Fuller if she wanted to be the place kicker, and she said that she would. So she was a senior on the Vanderbilt women's soccer team, and the women's soccer team had won the SEC championship. And she herself actually has a really good story. The way that they played up her story is like, oh, like she's this star goalkeeper and things like that. But in reality, like she was a senior, but she's had lots of serious injuries, and she actually started the season as the backup goalkeeper to a redshirt freshman because she was coming off of an injury. She took over as a soccer starter 4 games into the season and never looked back. So she did finish the season as a starter, but a lot of her teammates had described her as confident, resilient, and hardworking. So it was interesting because the Vanderbilt Commodores are a hot, steaming mess. Like they are 0-9 or 0-10. They didn't score a point in that game. So the only thing that she got to do was do a squib kick. And then, of course, because toxic male culture on Twitter is like, oh, man, look at that kick. This girl can't kick. And then other people are like, they were down like 40 points and they were doing the squib kick kind of to see if they could try like an onside kick, right? So, and then, of course, with all of this positivity going on, our guy, Jason Whitlock, decided that he wanted to chime in. Are you talking about toxic Twitter or Jason Whitlock?
Yes.
So Jason Whitlock chimed in asking the question, does Vanderbilt have a men's soccer team? Were any of the guys on the soccer team asked to do this, or did Vanderbilt just choose the best candidate? So the interesting part about this is Vanderbilt's coach after this game got fired. So that was also a very interesting coincidence. But one of the things that I read, and I didn't get to confirm this anywhere, was that Sarah Fuller, she actually stepped up in a halftime speech and like was trying to talk to some of her teammates and like get them motivated for the second half. And some of the players and coaches were like, these are things that we've wanted to say to these players for a while and didn't. And part of that is why this coach got fired, because he had already lost this locker room. But I wanted to talk about this for a couple of reasons, because there are 2 women who have previously played in, college sports, and there's probably more, but at the kind of Division 1 level. And, I've wondered, and we talked about this with PNG last week, right? But this is a really good example of how can this happen more, right? Like this girl has like a hell of a story, and I think it's a really great thing that's happened because we want people to be empowered to do something if they're interested in it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of angles to this. So, first of all, good for her, and good for whoever brought her on to do this. The biggest thing that this speaks to for me, like, are we going to see a female linebacker in the NFL next year? No, we're not going to. Are we ever going to see that? Maybe, probably not, but maybe, right? That's not what this is about. What this is really, to me, what it's about is representation, right? And I go back to, for those who don't know, I am an absolutely unabolished, is that the right word? Unabashed, whatever. I am a huge Hamilton fan, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm a huge Hamilton fan. And there was a video, and I don't remember where I stumbled across it. It was on Twitter or on TikTok, and one of the leads, Eliza, who I don't know what her ethnicity is. She looks a little bit Asian. I don't know that she is or not, but she's singing, and there is a little Asian girl. Whether she's what's the word that I'm looking for? Whether she kind of sees herself in this character because she's maybe slightly Asian looking, I don't know, or just because she's a female. Regardless, she points to the TV and she says, "That's me." And that's kind of it, right? Like this is a little girl who, all of a sudden, she's seeing someone that she can see herself in. Again, whether it's an ethnicity thing, whether it's a a gender sexuality thing, whatever the case may be, she sees herself in that person. And what that does is it helps her see possibilities that otherwise maybe she wouldn't see. You know, when we talk about Barack Obama being president, there's a shit ton of representation there, right? There's a whole bunch of people in this country who, you know, people are more aware of now are just misrepresented. They are treated poorly. There's so much shit going on with black people in this country, but now all of a sudden somebody broke through that glass ceiling and holy shit, I could actually be president. There was a black man who was president. I could do that. You know, that representation, so important. And I think that's the biggest thing. That's why things like this are so important, because it gives people in whatever that demographic is someone to look up to and someone to say, hey, I can do that. That kind of ties into one of the other stories that I added in here. But this also ties, so another angle of this is Jason Whitlock, who the fucking guy is a troll who just so happens to actually have a national platform, and he's not just some nameless fucktard on Twitter. And I don't have the examples right here in front of me, but when he came out with this, don't they have a men's soccer team? And you know, people tore into him, and then someone responded and said, no, they don't have a men's soccer team. If you would have spent 2 seconds on Google, you could have figured that out. And he goes, well, I don't use Google. That's what Twitter's for. You just ask the questions out here. No, you're a fucking misogynistic piece of shit. And that's why you put it out there the way you did. Is because you're trying to make light and you're trying to throw this woman under the bus. You're trying to be a fucking asshole. And that's not okay. It's simply not okay. Do your fucking research. You're a quote unquote journalist, right? Do your fucking research. Get the fuck out of here with that. And then the last thing that I'll touch on is some of the reaction on social media and everywhere, which we know is a toxic place to begin with. Like men want to cut their legs out from anybody who's succeeding that's not like them. It ties into the last story, right? So people being up in arms about this doesn't surprise me. It disgusts me. Like, people should be singing praises. Who cares what the reason is that she was there? You know, who cares if she's going to be there again next week? Who cares if she made a kick or not? So she made a squib kick, and you like just shut up about it. Support someone, for God's sake, instead of just trying to cut everybody down. That's what we're best at in this country, apparently, is to shove other people down to try to make myself feel better, and I'm fucking done with it.
That I really feel like that's a powerful point. And the thing that I want to bring up about this is, if you look at the football team, right, those specialty positions like kicker and punter, those are more about your ability to be strategic and think about angles and think about accuracy than it is like, I'm a big old hossy man,
Right.
you know, like that's what's important here. Because like you said, like maybe we won't see a linebacker who is a female. And one of the things that my wrestling podcast folks talk about is a lot of times, like in a real world fight, if you put a 300-pound man against a 120-pound woman, like that's probably not going to end well. But in the wrestling ring, these people can tell a story together, and they can make it look good, and they can make it work. And that's kind of how I think about kicker and punter, kind of like that wrestling match, because you can get someone who has enough of a kicking leg to be able to kick a 35-yard field goal if you're a man or a woman, right? So you can do these things. These are things that are possible because you're not having to directly compete with someone that's triple your size and things like that. It's more about your wits and your practice and your routine. And these are things that this is I'm almost thinking about that video, right, where the guy's like, hey, take a step forward if you can do this, or
Right.
take a step forward if you didn't do that. Like a position like kicker is one of those places that takes away a lot of those physical advantages, because sure, you can be a dude like Sebastian Janikowski and kick the ball really hard, but if you're not Sebastian Janikowski, nobody gives a shit because you're kicking it into Lake Erie. I see you, Joey Sly. I see what happened a couple weeks ago, you know?
Yeah, no, I feel you.
But I really like this story, and that's why I wanted to throw my challenge flag for it, because I'm proud that she's gotten this opportunity. And, you know, I hope that, like you said, it will inspire someone to pursue their dreams. Because like we talked about last week, we want to open up things for everyone. We want to say, you know, and I'm going to put it in both ways. We want women to be able to pursue things that are often said, oh, that's only a man's thing. We want men to be able to pursue a thing that people say, oh, that's only a women's thing. We want you to pursue what is going to make you feel like you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, what do you want to do, Christopher? Are we going to our random rankings? Are we going to have you throw a challenge? What's your thought here?
So I'm tempted to throw a challenge flag, but I think I'm going to tie it into my extra point. So I think instead it is time for
Random rankings. Oh, yeah. So, we have come off of the Thanksgiving food lull, and now we're going to talk about cheesecake. Because who doesn't love cheesecake? I mean, other than people who are gluten free or dairy free. But that doesn't describe me. Does that describe you, Christopher?
No.
All right. So today we are each going to draft our favorite Cheesecake Factory cheesecakes. So we will draft 5 cheesecakes that we want to put in our belly. So
Oh
I have
boy.
a list of 34 cheesecakes. So I don't know if they have new cheesecakes or old cheesecakes or whatever. I just pulled a list from the internet where some guy ranked all of the cheesecakes from number 34, low carb cheesecake, to number 1, lemon raspberry cream cheesecake. So we are going to draft 5 of these that we want to take. And I'm just looking through this list, and I know that the one that I really like is the one that Cheesecake Factory has no longer offered. But
I was wondering what the numbers were on this list, but now that I know that somebody already ranked it, I could say that he has kind of okay taste, but he's also kind of an idiot. So,
yeah, and I think because we're doing 5, we can just go back and forth instead of doing like.
Okay.
Or do you want to do 6 and do snake? Which one would you?
No, let's just go back and forth, and I'll let you go first.
Okay.
By the way, for those who don't see the chat, Old Man Wiggum says he does not like cheesecake.
Oh, come on, Wiggum! What? Come on, man!
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that guy. He's weird anyway.
I mean, that Wiggum's always sticking his finger up his nose, so I suppose.
Oh, snap!
Okay, so there's a lot of good choices on this list. Now, my thought is part of me, I kind of feel like I need to almost do a block here because I know the flavors that you like and I know the flavors that you don't, but I don't know everything about you.
Snap! You're gonna try to screw me up right off the bat?
No, I don't know everything about you, but I do know that since we're going back and forth, I think that I can hedge here. And I'm going to start with the dulce de leche caramel cheesecake.
You're a son of a bitch.
This gentleman ranked it as number 9 on his list, so it was not a top 5 option. But for me, I will draft it number 1 because the dulce de leche and the caramel, I feel like those work together fabulously. So that's what I'm going to go with for my first cheesecake pick.
All right, that's actually a pretty good pick, and that was on my short list. It was not going to be my number 1 though.
Okay.
But it was definitely on the list. So I am pretty traditional when it comes to cheesecake.
Going with that low carb cheesecake?
I am definitely not going with the low carb cheesecake. So I want to make sure that I get one that's kind of got the traditional, and I'm all about fresh strawberries, man. That's fresh strawberry cheesecake is where it's at. Like there's nothing better than cheesecake with strawberries. Like next level.
Trying to see where this gentleman
it was number 8, I think. Yeah, it was number 8.
There it is. All right. So number 8. So you got the fresh strawberry cheesecake.
Yes, sir.
Now, I am coming back here and I am taking a look. So just to give you chat and loyal listener what's out here, we've got stuff like the white chocolate caramel macadamia nut, mango key lime pie, very cherry ghirardelli. I am torn here between a couple of options. I do think, though, I might have to make a pimp decision, as Cat Williams might say. And I am going to pick, this was kind of my first Cheesecake Factory cheesecake, so I'm going to go with it almost for old time's sake, the tiramisu cheesecake. Because when you mix tiramisu and cheesecake, you take 2 desserts and you get one delicious dessert that you can put in your face.
That is not bad. Emily votes for banana cream cheesecake, which I think was on the list here somewhere.
It is. I think that's like number something. Number 4. Number 4 for this.
Fresh banana cream. You know, when I was looking at the list, that was one that did actually catch my eye. It was not one that I set aside, but it was one that caught my eye. So, well, I didn't write down what you took. What did you take again?
I took the tiramisu.
Tiramisu. That was on my list too. You bastard. Tiramisu. All right, so we're gonna add that to Brian's here, and then I am kind of torn. I think I'm gonna leave that alone because I'm gonna hedge my bets that you will not take that one. So instead, it is going to be the Reese's Peanut Butter Chocolate Cake Cheesecake. Come on, chat. Come on. Like, come on. Look at that.
So hopefully, actually, this is going to come out after St. Nick's comes, so it's okay. But
I don't know. I don't know what St. Nick is.
I'm whispering because I don't know if my wife is home right now.
Oh.
But that made me think of the Reese's trees because I bought some Reese's trees to put in her stocking.
Oh. I live alone. There ain't nobody to put nothing in my stocking. I feel like I get gypped every Christmas.
Shipped is going to put some Reese's trees in your stocking.
Oh, maybe.
Dude, we should do like the Reese's draft at some point where we just draft like what
different types of Reese's.
Yeah, because you got like the Reese's eggs and the Reese's trees.
That's true. That's a good point.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up. But to keep the draft moving along, I am going to continue to kind of, oh my God, why, man? Okay, so there are definitely 2 that I am torn on right now. And the reason for that is because I just saw that one and I didn't know that it was here.
One of those. All right.
But so I feel like you and I are basically playing a game of like it's basically like Russian roulette where we're trying to figure out who's gonna take what. But I think so I have dulce de leche caramel. I have tiramisu cheesecake. So I think just to diversify, I am going to take the cinnamon swirl cheesecake.
Yeah.
Was that a bad Or is
that was totally on my list.
You got, okay. The cinnamon swirl cheesecake, that one is delicious because you get the creaminess of the cheesecake. You get that nice cinnamon, like that one is really good. So like I said, I was torn between 2, and if the other one comes back to me, you'll understand why.
Okay.
But for now, I have diversified my interests.
Okay. Wiggum wants to know if we could make it ice cream or pie because the flavors sound good, but he just doesn't like cheesecakes. Well, I think, Wiggum, just find us a list of, top ice cream flavors. We can do that one next week.
Yeah.
I'll be fine with that.
I mean, otherwise, if Baker Square hadn't closed everywhere, we could do a draft of the Baker Square pies and cakes.
Oh, there you go. We could probably still find a list somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure we could.
There's a lot of chocolate on my list. I feel like I need to find something that's not chocolate.
I think you should just keep taking chocolate.
Because you don't want the chocolate?
Well, I mean, you only have 2. How do you feel like you have a lot of chocolate? You have Reese's peanut butter.
I know, but there's chocolate on there.
I think that you should take the low-carb cheesecake.
I think that that's not going to happen. All right, They
have a low-carb cheesecake with strawberry.
I'm going to take the ultimate red velvet cake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Red velvet.
Red velvet cake cheesecake.
Yep. Speaking of that one, that is my wife's favorite. So
yes,
I can understand why you would take that one.
Yeah, it's pretty legit. I mean, I don't think I've tasted any of these cheesecakes. I'm just going off what I think they taste like.
Come on, we've been to the Cheesecake Factory.
I know, but I always just get strawberry cheesecake.
Well, I suppose. I always change it up. And to be honest, the part about this that really sucks for me is there was one called Chris's Outrageous Cheesecake, which was like a coconut. That was like
I expect that from you, Wiggum. Thanks, man.
They discontinued it. So,
all right, well, you're up.
Chris is no longer outrageous.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
All right, so now I'm looking over my list. I'm checking it twice trying to figure out which one of these cheesecakes are naughty or nice. And I am going to go back to that one that was left for me. I am going for, now I have to find it in the list again because this is a giant list. Hold on, please wait. All right, the caramel pecan turtle cheesecake.
Yes, damn it. That was the next one I was going to take.
So we did end up playing roulette.
Yeah.
So the reason I didn't take it before is because I have caramel with the dulce de leche, but the caramel pecan turtle is probably, I usually go caramel pecan turtle, dulce de leche, cinnabon. So I've gotten my first 3 picks and I got the tiramisu. Like, I'm feeling great about this draft.
That is not bad. That's not bad. I wonder if I should take you know, I'm going to stop playing around, even though I know that you're never going to take this one. This is like number 2 on my list. So I'm just going to stop playing and I'm going to take the Oreo Dream Extreme.
That one's good. No, I like that one. That one is actually good. Actually, remember when I had talked about going to Culver's, eh?
Yeah, you got Oreos?
Their flavor of the day was Oreo cheesecake.
Oh, son of a bitch. I should have went to Culver's.
So when I get off of this podcast, I have a nice little pint of Oreo cheesecake in the freezer.
Nice. I'm jealous.
So
all right, one
that
more
looks
each.
great. So one more each. So to recap my team so far, dulce de leche caramel, tiramisu, cinnabon, and caramel pecan. So right now, I have a lot of like kind of savory stuff, right? Like the caramels and some of the stuff. So I think what I'm going to be looking for here is maybe I do want to go with more of like a fruit or a cheesecake. So there's pumpkin cheesecake, there's pumpkin pecan cheesecake, there is vanilla bean, there is lemon raspberry cream. I think I am going to actually crowdsource here. I'm going to be the pander bear a little bit, and I'm going to go with the fresh banana cream cheesecake
Okay.
because I really do like banana cream. Like, one of the things that you will know about me is that my wife, for my birthday, has like a banana poke cake that she always makes for my birthday. So I do like cakes and cheesecakes that have banana. So I'm going to go with the fresh banana cream cheesecake as my 5th and final pick.
All right. So I am going to follow a very similar thought process. Because the stuff I've got is, except for the fresh strawberry, it's super like dense and rich, right? So I'm like, I need something that isn't that way. So I'm going to take one that wasn't even on my short list.
Is it the mango key lime?
It's not. It is a pineapple upside down cheesecake. Like that, I love pineapple upside down cake. It is so freaking good, and I could just imagine what that would taste like on a cheesecake, or as a cheesecake, or with a cheesecake, or however that works. So yeah, that's where my money's at.
So to recap our draft, ladies and gentlemen, and all individuals in the chat, I have dulce de leche caramel cheesecake, tiramisu cheesecake, cinnabon cinnamon swirl, caramel pecan turtle, and fresh banana. Christopher, meanwhile, has fresh strawberry, Reese's peanut butter chocolate cake cheesecake, ultimate red velvet, Oreo dream, pineapple upside down cake. Now, what I will tell you is if you were to present both of these lists to my wife, I'm pretty sure that she would pick yours.
Because she is a smart lady.
But I think I won. So we'll see.
Anyone in chat, anyone who's live out there, what do you think? Who got the better of the cheesecake draft? Let us know what you think. Go ahead and throw your stuff up there, and then we'll revisit when we get back from our what's it called? Our final point, our
Extra point.
Extra point. I don't know why I can never remember what that's called. Extra point. So B, why don't you take it away?
All right, looks like there are 2 people that have already voted for me, but my extra point is
Come on, people, I need some support. Sean, I take all that back what I said about Trump. Come vote for me.
All right, so my extra point. The interesting thing for me is I am not a huge gamer, right? But I feel like we all have these little games that we play on our phone where they've got, oh, you have to log in and watch these 3 ads and you can collect some coins and you can do this thing and you can do that thing. As I was doing that one morning, I realized, if I'm going to spend like 5 minutes a day doing this, what else should I or could I be spending 5 minutes doing? And that really made me kind of think about like COVID and made me think about communicating with people. And for example, for Thanksgiving, like I actually made a concerted effort to like look through my contacts and like send messages to people and make sure that all of the people that I maybe haven't talked to in a while and all the people that I talk to frequently knew that I was thinking about them. And this is kind of what made me think about it, is like if I can take 5 minutes to like not watch an ad, I just know I click this button and then it gives me an ad for Theragun, and then after 30 seconds I can collect 30 points in this game. I can send a text message once a week to somebody and say, hey man, how are you doing? Right? Like I feel like we as a concept of time, like think about what you're doing and what can you also be doing, because some of it is, yes, it's great to be able to spend this time to play these games or do whatever, but I'm always in this giving back mindset too. So thinking about what can you also do to give back. So I thought that that was a really concrete way of saying that, because we all talk about how busy we are and how many things we have going on and what it is that we have going on, but there's often these like little like, I don't want to call them silly things, but they're things that are just like routines. And maybe I'm the only weird routine person who I wake up at 7 a.m. and between 7 and 7:20 while I'm making my coffee, I'm just like click, 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 clicking these ads. I don't know. Am I weird?
Well, yes, but go on.
Son of, well, okay. Well, that's all I had to say. But
Oh,
like,
that's it. Okay.
yeah, it was just like, because like, does what I said make sense? Does it not make sense?
No, the message I'm taking away is, I think it's a very easy excuse to say I don't have time to do X, Y, or Z. And you can find those small pockets of time throughout what you're doing every day. Maybe wasting time playing Clash of Clans. I'm not pointing at myself. And instead, you can use that time to touch base with people. Is that basically the message?
Well, it's not even that what you're doing is a waste of time, but it's more like if you can do that, you can also do all of these other things that you want to do, right? Because we'll often say, oh, well, I can't do that because there's not enough time in the day, or I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that because there's not enough time in the day.
Right.
But if you can make a little bitty 5 minutes to play Clash of Clans, or I can take a little bitty 5 minutes to collect these coins, like I can also create a little bitty 5 minutes to send some messages to people, even if that means that I'm in the temporary Twitter office for a little bit.
Temporary Twitter office. Something we haven't spoken of in a while. That's kind of funny.
I mean, we spoke from the temporary Twitter office the other day when I said that you should have told me about the situation.
That's true. That's true. This is way too much information to share with the world. All
Hey,
7
we
people who are
random.
going to watch this.
We random, as we say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think I'm going to call an audible on my extra point. I remember the name. It took me a minute.
Are you running the ball? Are you passing the ball?
I'm going to do a flea flicker, I think. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to add on to kind of what you had said, because I think it's an important message, and I think it's something that we can all take to heart. So I'm looking at it kind of in a couple different ways, but I've spoken before about the way that we can use this strange time in everybody's life to still move forward. I think I can't speak for everybody else. I can say that from what I'm hearing from a lot of other people, they feel very stagnant. They feel that, this is a year that's added on to the amount of time they get to spend on this earth, or taken away from the amount of time they get to spend on this earth. But they feel like they're just kind of sitting still, right? Gaining weight, maybe cleaning the house a little more, but just kind of sitting still. And I felt the same way a lot. So some people's lives haven't changed a lot, right? There's some people who, they still go to work every day and they still deal with stuff, and maybe things are a little different and I'm wearing a mask instead of not wearing a mask. But for a lot of people, life has changed quite a bit. And I'll just throw myself out there as an example. I am blessed to work for a company that has allowed me to change my work arrangements so that I can work from home, which is huge, right? It saves me an hour and a half to 2 hours on the road every single freaking day. That is insane. That's an extra couple hours that I can use for what? A lot of different opportunities. It also helps cut down on stress. Like, trust me, driving back and forth in Chicago traffic every single day is not freaking fun. Like, it's just a pain in the ass to deal with. So the stress is less. but what do you do with the extra time and the extra less stress that you have, or all those different things? How do we still move ourselves forward, whatever the case may be? And I think it's something that we all have to kind of spend some time looking at and trying to figure out where it is that we want to go. As I said before, we're doing a podcast. I'm doing streaming online. All of this stuff I wasn't doing a year ago. And if this whole COVID thing hadn't happened, would I have kind of had that kick in the ass to go do that? I don't know. Maybe not. But it's something that I enjoy doing. It's something I want to do. And it's something that I've got great support in doing. And it's something that helps me kind of move through this crazy time and still feel like I'm moving forward and I'm building on myself and I'm improving on myself. And I think that's something that we can all do. And maybe that improvement is as simple as, you know what, it gives me a little bit of extra time. I'm not spending 2 hours in the car. Now I can spend an extra half hour working out. Or maybe I can spend an extra half hour and instead of ordering out dinner, I'm going to make dinner. And maybe I'm going to use an extra half hour when normally I'd be driving home from work, and I can sit down and I can help my kids with their homework. Or maybe I can fill out that business plan that I've been, putting off because I really want to do my own business, but I haven't been able to find the time with everything else going on. Whatever the case may be, a lot of us are faced with an opportunity that we've never ever had before, and we may never have again. And it's something that may go away. I may be able to continue to work from home for perpetuity, or it may change, tomorrow. And so I don't want to take that for granted. I don't think any of us should take that for granted. So I guess in the end, what I'm trying to say is just feeding off what Brian had said is find those pockets of time and find a way that you can use those to improve whatever those things are in life that you want to improve. And maybe that's your health. Maybe it's your relationship with your family. Maybe it's your relationship with your friends. Maybe it's that side hustle that you want to put some time into there. Maybe it's, rededicating yourself to your church. Whatever the case may be, find a way to find those things that fulfill you. And if you have those extra pockets of time, use those beneficially. It's going to improve your well-being and your life, which is going to improve everyone around you, which is really what it's all about.
It really is. And I mean, I would even add to that and say, instead of if you don't feel like you can do, maybe use that as an opportunity to sit down. Like if you have a child and you're like, all right, I'm just going to sit down with you and whatever you want to do, we're just going to do it. Like
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that's been a benefit to our pandemic life is during some of our work meetings, one of our colleagues has a daughter and she'll come on the work meeting and she'll like sing a song for us,
Yeah.
or she'll like tell us about her day at school or something. And like that's been really cool because it's all something that, like, whatever stress we're all under, like in that moment, we're just watching this 4-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid tell us about her life, and like that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of little things that we can do to things like that where we don't have to take life so damned serious all the time. Like I've had people who, they're on conference calls with their kids, or you got the stupid backgrounds behind you. Like, let's just loosen up as a world, as a people. Let's just lighten up and have a little bit more fun. Life's too goddamn short. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention the comment that Wiggum put in the chat. Thank you for this, Wiggum. So once again, you're all fantastic. I thank you for bringing important topics to us as well as silly things to make us laugh. You always make our week just a little bit better, and I thank you. And make us think. You rock. Thank you for that, Wiggum. Appreciate that. That's kind of the goal. That's what we want to do.
Yes, thank you. And we appreciate you. And now this is the time where if you would like more of We Random, we're going to plug our socials because that's what we do. So if you would like to find us as a group on Twitter, we are under the umbrella of Almost Qualified Productions. You can find us and tweet us at AQ_PROD. You can find me, the Master of Cheesecakes, at Landmark MKE on Twitter. You can find Christopher on Twitter at Sconzi. You can find our Twitch stream on a multi-stream now. So you can follow Sconzi on Twitter, and Sconzi will tell you where we're at, and we're going to be in so many places, you're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, that's true. Pretty much you can just search Sconzi, and you'll find me on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter as well. and on Twitch.
I heard you were going to be on TikTok too. I heard there were going to be some,
Yeah,
like, weird
Sconzi's on TikTok, but he
dances.
hasn't put anything out there yet. I got to figure out what the hell to put out there, but I'm not going to dance, probably. Maybe.
I mean,
you should follow
I
to
think
find
you
out,
should.
though.
You should just follow.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do like a beard dance where like you
Ooh.
watch the beard grow in. And
I mean, the
like,
beard's come in pretty good. I mean,
really
it's pretty legit. So.
I mean, you're even getting a little bit of pepper back in there. It was a lot of salt for a while.
You know what? I think it's time to wrap this thing up. Before we do, I just want to point out that we do have two very gracious people in the chat who have voted on who the winner is. They're a little bit messed up in the head, but that's fine. We still love you anyway. Thank you for being here. But apparently, per the chat, Brian has won this round of the random rankings. I'm very disappointed, but congratulations to you, Brian.
It's an early Christmas present for me. And, when you hear this, there will be, just about, 3 weeks until Christmas. Hopefully between now and then you all are safe. Hopefully between now and then you all are merry. And until next week, I am Brian. That is Christopher. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.